in public saying that he has no job, that his job has been taken by other people who came from outside. So if it is true that he has no job, then he has no business sitting in an office that he was given for a job that he's not doing. I think it is important for us to say that in Kenya, we need politics to mature. And I'm hoping that that organization which regulates political parties can be strong enough and make decisive actions which can call people to order. There are so many politicians in this country who belong to one party, and the things they are doing are things of another party. And I don't think that augurs well for our nation. The future of our nation requires that we also grow the democratic space, allow each individual to make a judgment and a decision, but once you make a decision that you are not with me, then you cannot be with me and with somebody else. It is important for us to believe that we have mature politicians who should say, if I am not accommodated in this house, then I am leaving the house to go and start erecting another house. But you can't be in my house while you are also erecting your house. And you can't be pretending to obey the rules within my house when you have started alternative rules in the house that you have built. So for us as a country, perhaps we need to review the Constitution, and we need to review most of our regulations which allow belligerent people to behave like they are not going anywhere. Where they want to stay is where they are staying, even when they tell us that where I was staying, somebody else has entered there.
Right, thank you. Then there was March, and there came KEMSA. And we know the story of KEMSA and the COVID billionaires as well, as aptly captured in this particular editorial cartoon. Walk us this day to our daily tender. That was a pious prayer of one woman called Zubeda Ngobi, who owns Azure Commercial Services, with one Fanny Zonditi, who are irregularly awarded a tender to supply KN95 masks at 690 shillings each. Ngobi said she met KEMSA Procurement Director Charles Juma and told him her firm had capacity to supply the materials despite having not presented any paper, any documents. And details emerged that also a woman worked and was given 348 million shillings tender at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority amid the ongoing COVID-19 heist investigation by the National Assembly. Let's just begin from there in light of what was happening last year and KEMSA. We know also the board members were shown off, were shown the door as well.
The Bal, if you permit, I have a burning issue.
Please.
A counter to what my two colleagues were saying.
Before we go to KEMSA?
Yes, if you permit. Because I think the country is already so polarized, our leadership, and I want to make a passionate appeal to our credible leadership, particularly among the non-state actors. But let's not try to derive any more wages between and among our leaders. This is why I keep saying how I wish we could have a super handshake between the president, his deputy, the former prime minister, even the other two OCA principals, because that's what the country needs. We need to bring them together.
There has been calls also by the church that we should have a reconciliatory meeting between the deputy president and the president.
Absolutely. And as a scientist, we have what we say, to every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This is why we normally say freedom of the media, but also with responsibility. Party discipline, but also party democracy. So I think we must always be prepared to look at both sides. So even as much as we want to flaunt for discipline, it's always good also to have democracy. So as long as we remember that, just like we have Christ, Antichrist and all,
yes,
look at both sides. But more importantly, let's try to unify the country. On the KEMSA issue, I think my take is, I long concluded the administration is not genuine in its fight against graft. Because either it's weaponized or it's selective. But yes, I must give the administration credit for talking about it. In terms of talking, yes, the administration has talked about the fight against graft more than any other previous administration. And lastly, I know our colleagues have compared the previous vice presidents and the DP. I don't support any of the political formations at the moment. But I think it's important to also note that the constitutional dispensation Jaramogi operated under and DP Ruto is operating under is completely different. So while I'm not saying he should continue being in office, but again, look at the differences. One was the vice presidency. When Kenyans came up with the new constitution, it was the realization that the president would kick out his deputy or his vice anytime he wanted. That has changed. As to whether that's good or not, I think it's only for Kenyans to decide going forward whether we need to change it.
Right. The president also promised that we should have this particular report, investigation done within 21 days. Sure. Right down the line, nothing has happened so far as that particular report is concerned.
Those are sentiments of every political leader. It's not only the president. If you change it and look at it from the other side, whenever there is any political death, assassination, or somebody who has died in a vicious way or has been killed, you'll always see them come up saying, we shall not leave any stone unturned. So to us, those are just music to musical ears. Or whatever the president says, we don't take him seriously.
Right. Chacha Nyagoti, briefly on it.
If I may comment on this KEMSA thing. You see, this country has a lot of money, and our leaders are colluders with people who are interested in looting. And sometimes when all these scandals happen, we expect action to take place. We expect people who are identified as having perpetrated their vice to be brought before the court of law and the justice to be done. But this has never happened, and it is time in, time out. We have had the NYS, we have had the Kimror dams, we have had so many of those scandals and fraudulent picking of public funds to individual pockets that we have stopped counting. So it's important for us to demand that during our next year of 2022, we should really ask ourselves, since we know the individuals who are involved in this vice, why can't we take action against them? And then the Kenyans can at least feel happy that there is somebody who stole our public funds, and that there was action which was taken against that individual. When we keep on talking about public funds disappearing, being taken by individuals, an individual walks into a place where there is a procurement officer and presents information that I can supply, there is no evidence. In procurement, you are supposed even to show the type of the things that you are intending to supply, so that they are gauged against some specifications. But this time it didn't happen, and the people were just looting money.
Thank you very much. In March, you may remember as well, we had the unfortunate news of the death of the president of Tanzania. This is John Pombe Magufuli, who, as we know it, he was one of Africa's most prominent coronavirus skeptics, and called for prayers and herbal-infused steam therapy to counter the virus. We were told he died of heart complications. There was a lot of debate around that. Was it coronavirus that actually took him as well? And we saw within that particular month as well, the deputy president, that is Samia Suluhu, being sworn in as well as the president of Tanzania. So let's also just remember John Pombe Magufuli and that particular feisty fight that he had against the coronavirus itself, starkly denying its existence, telling people, yes, we are actually gagging for divine intervention, but at the end of the day, also he became, he succumbed to that particular tragedy of the virus itself.
Debal, may Dr. Magufuli rest in peace, as we say, although in my faith we don't say that. But it was very unfortunate that Africa lost him when we did. There has been although people can easily dismiss it, that those who have not supported conventional thinking, African leaders in particular, seem to have been in trouble, from Burundi to Haiti to Tanzania and others, Madagascar and so on and so forth. But also, word has it on the air that certain politicians in Kenya would rather go to foreign hospitals because they're not sure what would happen in Kenyan hospitals. But this could be just propaganda, so to speak. But I was inclined to be a bit closer to the position President Magufuli took on COVID-19. And in this regard, I must say, I was delighted recently when the WHO boss has said, look, vaccines alone are not sufficient to manage COVID. I am one of those who believes in multi-pronged approach. A multiplicity, whether it's masking, whether it's social distancing, and so on and so forth. Good eating, nutrition, and even herbal music, herbal medicine, if I may call it, probably better called natural medicine. I think one fails to understand, if we are going with conventional science, why is it that there are not so many deaths in Africa as yet due to COVID? Because if we are to go with conventional thinking, almost people would have been dying like flies, as we were told, as was predicted in Africa. Yes, so vaccines, vaccinate, yes, but over-concentration, in my view, on vaccination is just as bad as vaccine hesitancy or apathy. I think that's what I would say. We need a multi-pronged approach to contain COVID.
So a multi-pronged approach that is involving also the embracing the alternative medicine that you're mentioning, that it is not solely the vaccines as well. Also, we can look inwardly as a country and go for the herbal, for the concoction people are making as well. Absolutely.
Actually, there are some eminent Kenyan professors in the diaspora, virologists, immunologists, and microbiologists in Scotland, in China and Egerton, who have come up with this product, COVID remedy CR7, which has helped more than 10,000 people in 20 different countries. In other countries, it sells as food supplement. In Kenya, it's considered a borderline. But yes, I've seen miracles happen. Within 2 days, 24 hours, 48 hours, people were positive, turned negative. And it's got no issues, no side effects. Uganda has got a step further. They have a product that I understand is only 20% as effective. But the president gave the researchers $500,000 and I think 5 acres of land to establish a plant. So again, I'm not saying that this natural medication on its own is enough, or even healthy eating or hygiene, but they need to go all in tandem. I think that's what I'm saying. Multiplicity.
Multiplicity, yeah. Briefly, before we take a short break, your reaction as well on this, the death of Magufuli?
Magufuli was a bad man. He killed so many people in Tanzania. He actually jailed more than 4,000 political activists. He led the shooting of Tundu Lissu, my former classmate, was shot 17 times in the thigh. He also led the shooting of the chairman of Chadema, Mr. Mbowe, and he let Tanzanians die like chicken. And he closed the world from finding out what was going on in Tanzania. And I'm speaking with authority because I'm the lawyer for Chadema. I'm still representing members of parliament who flew from his regime. He was a terrible, terrible dictator. Thank you.
All right, so Wajakoya, just let it all hang out, you know, without batting no birds. With that, let's hear from Professor Chacha, Nyaigoti Chacha.
Okay, I support Professor Jakaya. Magufuli was an interesting character, and I think his style was full of authoritative dictatorship. He wanted his word to be like God's word. And to a certain extent, we are sorry that he died. He may have helped, that style would have helped perhaps Tanzania get to somewhere. But I am very sorry that we can have about 60 years after independence, leaders in this continent who come with a lot of vehemence and try to undermine the democratic space that many people have died to fight for. And that is what he was doing. So while people mourned him because he died, but there are some people who said perhaps God sometimes hears the people's cries.
If you permit, just one last one on this. I thought we were addressing Magufuli and COVID, but yes, authoritarian rule of Magufuli was not good. But I always try to look at both sides. How about the fight of Magufuli mounted against corruption? Was that bad or good? So let's always look at both sides. That's what I would say.
Yes, so at least...
I'd also like to add on what my friend said, that Magufuli built an airport in his hometown, which was more or less more than $400 million US, which was an economic hazard. When it comes to corruption, he had two faces. If you look at the way Tanzania was purchasing its aircrafts from Canada, and the people who are involved with looting and tendering, then you will come to know the real speed. I do not want to spill more beans. Thank you.
All right, okay. Well, Christopher Morley said that life is a foreign language. We all mispronounce it. So no one actually gets it right in this life. We have to take the rough with the smooth as well, the bad, the good, or the good, the bad, and the ugly as well. We take a short break right now. When we circle back, we continue with more of editorial.